Hello, everyone. My name's Ariane. I'm one of the naturalists here at the Nature Station. And today, well, I'm not here at the Nature Station today due to weather and whatnot. I'm actually streaming from my home office. But I do have Shannon here who's going to help me with our live animal presentation today. And we're going to talk about Twitter-pated. So being Twitter-pated, animals in love. It's Valentine's Day tomorrow, and we love to kind of talk about just this fun topic. Animals do all sorts of crazy things, and we're gonna showcase some of that today. So on behalf of Friends of Land Between the Lakes and the Forest Service, we're happy to have you, whether you're watching us live or you are watching us on YouTube. So let's go ahead and dive into a little bit about this. If you're on Zoom and you're unfamiliar with it, down at the bottom, there's a few different options. The best way to ask questions is to either type directly into chat, or you can actually use the Q&A panel and actually ask questions directly to me, and I will answer those live or answer them via text, depending on what they are. There is also a raise hand function, but we won't really be using that today. If you'd like to get my attention, best way to do it is going to be through the chat or the question and answer. Otherwise, happy early Valentine's Day, and let's dive into it. Title page here, I have one of my favorite web comics, Bird and Moon. You'll see a few comics throughout this program. Just to break it up, I thought it would be super fun. We've got a blue heron here who is reading a romantic book, and the handsome man has brought the handsome heron has brought the female heron a stick, and she just finds that incredibly romantic. And we're actually going to talk about that here a little later. On to the next. There we go. All right. I look to nature because I think the animals are smarter than we are. There's no dating in the animal kingdom, no dinner, no movie, just a quick sniff. All right, let's go. That's a quote from comedian Adam Ferreira. And in some cases, that might be true, but believe it or not, there's a lot more to it than that. It's easy to assume that animals are much simpler than us, but they really aren't. Here we have our blue jay friend saying he's really vain about his looks, but he's also clever and hilarious. So before we even get into discussing different types of animal courtship, that kind of thing, the big question is, why courtship at all? It can be quite extravagant sometimes, and what it boils down to is attracting a quality, your species survival. So first step is attracting a quality mate. This really increases the likelihood of survival. Just like anyone else, an animal, a human, we are looking for a quality mate. Perhaps he's strong or he's really pretty. Everybody has their own preferences. Animals do too. Prettiness may, in the animal kingdom or around here, may mean he's good at taking care. They're good at taking care of themselves. They're good at finding food, because out in the wild, especially, that takes a lot of energy. A good mate means those genetic tendencies will then pass on potentially to my offspring, which is kind of the goal. That drive to breed, you add that in with that, it's a natural instinct to want to find a mate for many animals, and this leads into the main drive for existence with animals is species survival. Survival of the fittest doesn't just mean I need to keep myself alive, although of course I'd like to. I want my genetics to persist in the next generation, and those good genes will help the species survive. And in other words, that is the survival of the fittest, is the species survival over time. So what actually separates man from beast in animal courtship? Not a whole lot. Here's another one I'm going to shout out is False Knees. They're a wonderful comic, naturalist favorite. They've got some good stuff as well. So we're going to talk about a little bit how that stuff isn't that different from us. So of course, courtship always starts when you're single and you're looking to mingle. So one of the best ways you're going to do that is you're going to advertise. And that can be done in a variety of ways. We got to make sure that eligible mates know that we're available. For some of us watching that, it may have been a while, so let's just reach back and pretend. You're going to want to broadcast that you are looking for a mate. So some of us change our Facebook status. You might update your online dating profile, get on Tinder. You might shower. You might grow new feathers. You might color your beak, put on makeup, that kind of thing. And so I have Shannon here who is going to help me with a very special guest and he happens to know a lot about advertisement and flirting in general. So I'm going to spotlight Shannon's video here. There we go. That's Spotlight. And here is Woodrow. This is Woodrow Darling, or lovingly known as Duck Duck. And we talk about him a lot. If you're familiar with our Facebook, he is quite the star on there. He is oh my gosh, he's nearly 2 years old now, isn't he?
Yeah, he's going to be 2 in very beginning of June.
Yeah, so he is a 2-year-old wood duck, and he is currently growing in his breeding plumage for the spring breeding season, which is, of course, when ducks do that. So like I said, this is Woodrow. He's currently in the process of growing all those feathers in. Ducks specifically molt twice a year, and they shed those old feathers and grow new ones. Once they're done with those breeding feathers, they shed them again so that they're a little less flashy so that they can survive the winter and that kind of thing. Wood ducks are particularly colorful. He's really become quite iridescent. He's also got a mind of his own, so he's going to go off and do his own thing if he can. He's got quite the personality, and I do have a video here that'll help us show off a little more of his markings if he's not wanting to play ball with us today.
He can hear you, but he can't find you.
He's like, where is she?
Yeah, he's trying to find you.
So for those who are maybe not as familiar with Woodrow or the Nature Station staff, there was a point in time where Woodrow thought I was quite pretty, and we were friends, and I was actually replaced by a very pretty redhead co-worker of ours, and then he hasn't liked me quite as much, but we haven't seen each other in a while, so he's probably like, where is she? So he's become really iridescent when compared to before he started molting. He looks a little funky for a while, a little patchy, but this is all in an effort to attract the ladies who are nowhere near as colorful. And it's kind of a give and take. It is dangerous to be so flashy. Wood ducks are one of the prettiest ducks that we have in this area, but that also helps them impress the ladies and helps them further their genetics. And so that exchange of possibly being more noticeable and being able to be possibly being eaten outweighs, you know, the chance for breeding outweighs that danger. He hasn't raised his crest for us yet, but I do have a video to show that off if we do. He actually has what looks like a mullet behind him. That is all part of it. That's his crest. He often raises it to show off. If he doesn't do that for us live on camera, we'll play it on this short clip that I kept. I did keep this video just in case. Oh, hello. Hello, Duck Duck. You have anything you would like to say?
He's very confused. He keeps trying to fly behind the computer to find you.
Let's see. Am I forgetting anything else? Oh, that was quite entertaining. This video that I'll show after we're done looking at live Duck Duck. This is back when I was his main girl, and he found our boss John to be a threat. So he would intimidate John and attack his shoes, and then come over and show off with me. And so growing this kind of plumage can take a lot of energy, but like I said, the species specifically has found that it's basically worth the risk of being eaten because they get pretty and they get the ladies. Isn't that right, Duck Duck? So that head bob there, when he puts his head down like he did, that is a greeting. He's not going to raise his crest for us, is he, though? Oh, a little bit. I saw a little fluke.
Yeah, very little bit there.
All right.
They are very social. You notice I keep kind of tapping him there. Grooming is a big part of bonding with these guys.
Yes. He is. So Woodrow, a little backstory behind him. He came to us when he was 1 day old. He was rescued by a fisherman who found him being attacked by crows, and mom and the rest of the baby ducks were nowhere to be found. And we were able to keep him healthy and help him grow. And now he is one of our basically mascots. He is a great ambassador for his species. People love him. I'm constantly getting messages and comments on our Facebook page or in person, you know, when we have customers like, where's the duck? Can we see the duck? And unfortunately, he's not been able to be around quite as much because he does have to be indoors in a closed room. He's fully flighted, so he can't come out and say hi to people usually when we are open to the public, unless we're able to close off the theater, for example. So I'll play this video real quick and we'll see if he reacts to his own voice.
Here, let me unpin this.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Almost forgot about that.
I think it's back to you right now.
Oh, hang on. Let's see here. I don't want to spotlight that. How do I make sure the screen is being spotlighted?
Okay, it's back up for me.
Okay, you can see the presentation again.
Yes.
Cool. All right, let's see here. Click play again. So this is actually, I think this is from 2019 in the winter. Here he is coming to show off. He had just told off John, and then he came to groom me, or my camera, as it were.
I have a new man.
His name is Drake.
Oh, we're cleaning the camera now. It doesn't know what to do.
This is obviously from my cell phone, so it's A+ footage.
Clean.
You can see just all his gorgeous feathers, and this was from a couple years ago, back when he basically had juvenile plumage still, so he was still young. But you can see his crest there. He will raise that in an effort to show off and flirt, and I will actually, we all mirror it back to him, and he just loves it. He can get the whole room going, and he loves, as you can see, to be the center of attention. So that is one way animals, can get attention and find a mate, as they are very showy. Okay. You can also make some calls. So maybe you're getting back into the dating field, and maybe a friend knows somebody, that kind of thing. You can also stand around in one location and yell. As humans, that's maybe not a good idea. You can move around and yell, as some animals do. And honestly, a lot of mating or courtship, specifically in the animal world, it's mostly yelling. So you can see here in this comic off to the side, it's a male frog seeking a female frog. I can jump higher than most of the other frogs, and they make all these loud calls, and it just sounds like a cacophony. And as we go outside to maybe go on a kayak trip or a canoe trip, or we go camping, we think the sounds of summer are just gorgeous, and they are. But a lot of some of them have to do with territory, but a lot of those are specifically because they're just looking for somebody. So for example, here I have a great video. The video is not what's important, it's the sound. So make sure that your sound is good. It shouldn't be too loud. This is a video of a field full of narrow-mouthed toads looking for love. And so let's take a listen. Everybody loves being called at like that, right? I am seeing we got a couple more people added into the Zoom meeting. So just a friendly reminder, the best way to contact me, because I will not be able to hear you, is you can type to us in chat here. Let me pause this, that way we can go over that again. You can type in chat, which is at the bottom of your screen. You'll see a chat button. You'll have to move your mouse and move it down to the bottom of the screen to do that. Or you can also use the question and answer module down at the bottom as well. You'll see that, I believe it's labeled Q&A, and that is how you can ask me questions. Or, we've got a small crowd today. You can just type to me in chat as well. So these narrow-mouthed toads are pretty amazing. And all frogs, we've all heard a frog call at some point, whether it be a tree frog or these narrow-mouthed frogs or toads are pretty cool. When frogs are calling, they're typically looking for one thing only, and they scream until they get it, often in unison. Narrow-mouths often sound like sheep baaing, as you notice. We'll play this again. We actually, at the nature station, will often get people asking where our sheep are, because these narrow-mouthed toads are so loud in our backyard at the nature station that people think that they're actually on exhibit as other animals. It also sounds like, I like to tell kids that they're saying beans. Kids get a really big kick out of that, and parents love when I teach that to them. It can be quite deafening as well. They get really loud. Then you add in the American toads that have a really high-pitched trill. You add in other frogs. This often depends on the weather. As you can see, it's very moist here. It probably rained in this area when Shannon took this video. It also depends on the ambient temperature. Certain frogs will only call at certain temperatures or even times day. So they do stagger it somewhat, so they aren't all the species all screaming all at the same time. But these are the males calling for females. They are looking for love, which is just appropriate for Valentine's Day. And here are the little offenders here. This is a narrow-mouthed toad. They are about 1 inch to 1.5 inches in length. So you can imagine just how loud that is when you've got hundreds of them. So this next one is going to be very quiet. I will caution you to go ahead and turn up your volume. This is a video that we took of the field down from the nature station, and it is of a fallow deer looking for attention. So let me bounce this to about 20 seconds in. Going to play automatically? No. Okay. So our fallow deer are an interesting species. They are not white-tailed deer. White-tailed deer are native to the area, and we're quite familiar with them. You see them on the roads all the time, usually. And fallow deer were introduced to Land Between the Lakes roughly 100 years ago. They're a European species that's not native here. You can't hunt them or anything like that. We still have a herd of roughly 40 to 60, I suppose, given the year. That hang out in the nature watch area that is protected in LBL. They know it's safe and they kind of just hang out at the nature station. They poop in my parking lot every night. It's great. And then in the fall, of course, is breeding season, and the males are trying to collect their harem, and so that they can be, big handsome boys with all these pretty ladies. And so what they do is they actually have a call. And let's see, I've got it timed just right. Here in a couple, I will play it and I want you to listen really closely. So I will caution you, go ahead and turn up your volume as much as you can because it is incredibly quiet. I can barely hear it and I'm wearing a headset. So I'm gonna have this is turned all the way up. And then once we are done listening to that, I will have you turn your volume back down to normal levels, and I won't talk, so I won't bust your ears. All right, let's go. It's very quiet. I'll back it up and play it again. It sounds like they're belching. They actually, for lack of a better phrase, they burp at their females, and this is how the fallows get attention. So I'm going to back that up to 20 seconds and we'll listen again. It happens at about 25 seconds. So burp, burp. He was hiding in this field. I couldn't even find him. He was really well camouflaged and barely moving through. I actually believe he's over on the left side of the screen, and then he eventually trails off. Because we can't see him, I have brought up a picture of our very own resident burper here at the nature station. This is Persis and one of his fawns, I believe. Persis, you can see his lovely antlers, so he's also advertising. He is our male fallow deer in our herd, and he is named for the god of destruction because with those big antlers, he loves to destroy just about everything. So it's quite entertaining. We have had customers complain that someone was being vulgar in our backyard because the wild fallow deer and our fallow deer were all belching, and they thought it was somebody, one of our customers. So it gets quite entertaining in the fall, around September or so. So we've advertised. Maybe we've dressed up, maybe we're making calls. Now it's time for the date. Maybe we found somebody and we need to be incredibly impressive. So step one, bribery is always a good way to go. To quote Beauty and the Beast, flowers, chocolates, promises you don't intend to keep. Flowers, snacks, dinner, a cool stick, a cool rock, a dead rodent, literal poop. Animals will give each other all sorts of wonderful things in order to prove that they might be good hunters, that they're good protectors. Any number of things will impress these animals depending on the species. The dead rodent specifically, I don't have the video anymore, but I always love to bring up this fun little story of these barred owls I used to care for in Ohio, Ari and Grinnell. They were a mated pair, and every year around breeding season, Ari would work really hard the male would work really hard to impress Grinnell, the female, and he would actually share his food with her and would hand her rats. And at first she'd be a little standoffish, and she'd eventually take them. It was really cute. So our first example of bribery is going to be our great blue herons. These are really recognizable. They're one of the largest birds we have. They stick around year round, so we always see them. They have amazing rituals. Herons have a lot of those. So they grow fancy plumage like Duck does, or they have dances and all sorts of stuff. But one of the cool things they do is, through the dating phase, or actually at this point they're nesting, the male continues to impress by bringing gifts to the female while they build the nest. The males actually choose the nesting sites, and then the females work on the nest while the males bring them sticks. And it's this really amazing bonding ritual that they do. Oh, warning real quick. Go ahead and turn your volume back down if you haven't.
The pair also works together to build the nest in a very ritualistic method. The male leaves the nest, leaving the female to adjust the sticks and place them in the perfect position. Meanwhile, the male goes off to collect additional sticks for the nest. Male great blue herons typically find sticks on the ground, but sometimes will break them off of a small shrub or tree. And sometimes they even steal them from another unguarded nest. Once the male has selected the perfect stick, he returns to the nest and presents the stick to the female. As he approaches the nest, the female often performs the stretch display to greet him and takes a stick from his bill and places it into the nest. With this ritualistic approach to nest building, nests can take anywhere from a few days up to 2 weeks to build.
Can you imagine working? Yeah, it can take a long time because they're working together and building that bond with each other. You can see here, now these are not, they're building in a palm tree, so this is not a Kentucky video. But you can see, regardless of where you are in the country with your great blue heron, they are going to have those beautiful plumages, and they get really more vibrant than they do in the winter. So it's pretty cool to go see them, go birding out in the winter because you'll get to see them in that gorgeous plumage. All right, here's a fun one that a lot of people don't think of. Bugs have rituals too. They got to be impressive for their ladies as well. As you can see or guess, maybe these are dung beetles. We do have dung beetles in Land Between the Lakes. This video in particular is, I believe, taken in Africa, but it was one of the best videos I could find, and I think you'll really enjoy it. How these guys go about courting actually depends on the kind of dung beetle that they are. So there's actually 3 kinds of dung beetles, believe it or not. There's the tunnelers, there's the rollers, and there's the dwellers. I personally have only seen the rollers in Land Between the Lakes, mostly because they tend to be the most charismatic of the dung beetles because you can see them pushing stuff around. Our owls usually find them pretty entertaining. Tunnelers, a female will actually excavate a tunnel beneath a pile of dung, and then she'll pull in some food, and then the male has to go into the tunnel and stand guard and defend from any attackers that might. And that's actually, and then whoever survives that encounter gets to breed with the female. Rollers, the ones that we tend to see the most, they actually take this gob of poo, as we'll see here in a minute, from a dung pile. They'll form it into a ball to roll it around, and they'll roll it away. And the males do this very specifically. They actually stand upside down and push it with their back legs. If the female finds that impressive and she likes what she sees, she hops onto the dung ball and goes for a ride, and that's actually also where she'll end up laying her eggs. And then while he is pushing his prize and his new girlfriend to an ideal spot, he actually has to defend from any other males who might be in the area wanting to maybe steal the dung ball, or more likely steal the dung ball and the girlfriend. There's also dung beetle dwellers. They're the ones that actually just live in the poop. They just hang out there. They tend to just lay the eggs and brood balls in the poop and don't really have much pomp and circumstance about it. But if we watch this is a male that is actually defending his lady and his poop from an attacker. He just keeps chucking him.
Hey, this thing's...
Oh, and Shannon has told me that we do have tunnelers in our wolf pen. We will see them. I must not have been paying as much attention to the poop as I should have been. So I'll have to take a look at that next time. I knew we had them, because there's more insects outnumber us so much that they're definitely around. Let's see. Any questions so far? I've been cruising right along and haven't heard anything from anybody. Make my chat window a little bigger here while I'm at it. All right. Well, remember, if you have any questions, you can just put them in chat or ask them in the question and answer module, and I will be happy to answer them to the best of my ability. We'll move on to our next example. Oh, there we go. So bribery is step 1. You might also just really want to impress them, bust a move. You can impress them on the dance floor. animals do this a bunch of different ways. You make sure you're center stage. You blind them with your good looks, maybe. You know, just be extra showy. This usually shows off athleticism, so dancing, that kind of thing. Let down your snood, start a fight, whatever will impress the lady. And so out in the wild, as you can see, that comes in various forms. We have here a nice little comic of a turkey who is showing off for a female that walks in, and that's pretty accurate. Now PowerPoint would not let me bring this video in, but that's okay. I have it pulled up right here. We'll bring this over here. Q&A. How big are the dung beetles? That depends on the kind. So the dung beetles, the roller beetles are actually probably, they can be maybe half an inch to an inch big, so they'll be a decent size. But the ones that live in the poop or tunnel in the poop, they're going to tend to be a lot smaller, maybe like a centimeter or something like that. That's a good question. So here on the screen, we have a video of a turkey strutting. So this is a female. She kind of wanders into the frame, and there's a boy pursuing her. So let's take a look. Here comes handsome boy. He's going to floof his feathers up. You heard that spit and that rumble. That is called spitting and drumming. And you'll see the little thing on top of his head. That's called a snood. It actually hangs down over his beak while he is strutting so that he can be extra, extra pretty. And then when he's looking around to see, did she see me? Did I do good? He actually pulls it back up. It actually has a muscle in it. So we're going to put out, oh, hi, handsome. Okay, so we'll talk about this for a second. Look at how bright red he is. They kind of do it all. They have the colors, they have the pomp and circumstance, they got the moves. After finding a female to display for, they spit and drum. So they puff air out of these air sacs in their chest, and then that actually reverberates in their chest as well, and that's where the drumming comes from. And all of this is, look at me, I'm so handsome, I'm floofing my feathers, I'm shiny, I'm sparkly. They actually, you can see his face is really bright blue and bright red. They don't look like that full time. They only look like that while they're strutting. They will pump more blood to those, what they're called caruncles, to those caruncles to look extra red and extra engorged. That way they look fancier, because there's really not a whole lot. You can see we got this nice green backdrop and brown backdrop of the forest. He really does stand out once he has that bright blue, bright red face. And then if he's making a whole bunch of noise, he'll gobble, that kind of thing. If you've ever been to our nature, see our turkeys at the nature station, our turkeys are on what I like to call perma-strut. There isn't a time of year where they're not strutting and trying to impress somebody because they're heavily imprinted. They kind of think that we're humans, or they're humans, or that we're really funny looking turkeys. And so they actually often think our visitors are somebody to mate with, or, you know, they're begging for food at that point. So they're always a great example, and they are one of the fan favorites at the nature station. All right, so let's get out of that one. Don't need him anymore. Oh, on to the next already. All right, let's see. Checking in on questions. Cool. So it would not be a nature station program if we didn't talk about ruby-throated hummingbirds here. Ruby-throated hummingbirds have this amazing ability, of course. We all, well, maybe we've not all seen them. They have this amazing ability to hover in one place. They move really fast. They're really tiny. They're also really flashy. They're very, very popular because of that. And so they have a lot of courtship to go along with it. Some of them have really amazing feathers, like even more so than just Duck Duck does. Duck Duck has some amazing shiny feathers like our ruby throats do. Some hummingbirds take that the extra mile and actually have extra feathers that they grow that are not aerodynamically helpful, but they're fancy and it gets the girl. But we're going to talk a little bit about the ruby throats. Ruby-throated hummingbirds on a normal day can reach about 25-30 miles per hour, but they can reach speeds of up to 40 miles per hour during their courtship dance. So this courtship is very specific. It's supposed to be impressive. It's supposed to be, you know, feats of strength and athleticism to show the female just how successful they are. And so this means that their wing beats during courtship can get up to 200 wing beats a second. That is incredibly fast. They fly in a U shape. The reason why I'm explaining all this before the video's in slow-mo. So they fly in a U shape like this in front of the girl. They'll find a girl. In this video, you'll see that there's something, there's a bird on the feeder that is actually a fake female hummingbird. And this video was made specifically to catch this movement in slow-mo. They fly in a circle like this, and you'll hear them making special noises and going really, really fast. And at the bottom of that U is where a lot of the magic happens. So that's what this video is about. At the bottom of that U, there's some really important things that happen here. So let's take a look at that. Our male is coming down, and I'm going to pause it right there. So this video was taken a long time ago. It is very grainy. There's not a whole lot of new ones out there, so I hope we never lose this video. You can see he actually took his ruby throat, also called a gorget or a gorget, depending on what you're reading, where you're reading it. And he could actually take those feathers, which are normally just on his throat, and he is flaring them out, much like the turkey flares out his feathers. And he is specifically positioned at the right angle to the sun in order to literally flash the female all these sparkly colors. They have prismatic feathers. So you might notice that if you have watched a hummingbird or seen video of a hummingbird, that these hummingbirds tend to, sometimes they can look really flashy green, or like if the light's a little off, they look a little more dull depending on the angle, or they might even show as a different color entirely. And that has to do with the fact that their feathers have prisms at the microscopic level. So you actually only see the color of their feathers when the light hits it just right. So this male has calculated exactly where he needs to be at maximum flashy, sparkly power. And they do this over and over again. This is heavily slowed down to show the lady how impressive they are. Because if they know how to get food and they can handle all these special flights and being fancy, that means to the female that he is good at what he does. He has strong genes. He knows how to survive. And those are the genes that she wants for her babies. It's pretty amazing stuff. All right. Any questions about that? We'll keep going, and I will keep an eye out on our chat channels, of course. Let's see. Now, I did mention starting a fight, and a lot of courtship, that's just how it is. The males fight, and whoever's the strongest gets the female. And the female's like, well, he won, so obviously he's the best choice. So these are two of our skinks in the backyard at the nature station. They were fighting over territory, and probably a female somewhere off in these bushes. Was able to get very close up on them. So it's really amazing to see how hard they're working to defend this territory of the garden. Look how heavy they're breathing. The one's not even using his own feet. And it looks pretty vicious, and with some animals it can be. For example, like bison, if you've been to our bison prairie, they gore each other and stuff. But the species are often built for that kind of hard fighting. So these are lizards. They are reptiles. They have scales. They're not doing any real damage to each other. And if they did, it wouldn't be much, because this is just all a display of show. Now, of course, in some species of different animals, the only way to win is to kill the other animal. But in most cases, a lot of cases, that's not necessarily going to happen. This goes right along with proving their worth as a mate. Strength equals stronger offspring for the species. I'm not sure we actually saw the end of this fight. They eventually end up in the bushes, and we lose sight of them.
Oh my.
All right. Once again, we talked about dung beetles. Courtship is not just limited to the bigger animals or the flashier bugs. We can also talk about spiders, jumping spiders specifically. So there are You know, just like there's tons and tons of bugs, they outnumber us. It's the same with spiders. There are so many species. Some of them don't even have common names. There's just so many of them. So to just talk about the jumping spider family, we have jumping spiders in Land Between the Lakes. We see them all the time. You probably have even seen them in your house. And if you've ever gotten close enough to one, you might have noticed that they're actually the more showy of spider species. They actually have some iridescent colors to them. They're quite fancy. They use those colors to impress a female who is much more drab in color typically. All these colors and acrobatics, once again, remember, prove that they're superior to any other male that may or may not be as colorful or attractive. So let's take a look at the spider dance. So here's a female minding her own business. And the boy comes up. He's like, oh, she's pretty. And now he's going to show off all his colors. And they do a lot more than just showing off. Showing off the colors. They dance too. So you can see he's prancing around a little bit. He's going to do these little wavy things. This is really cute. I was very excited when I found this one. She may or may not be interested. And everything he's doing is very specific to show off all those colors on his legs, those back legs that are colorful too. He is positioning them so that she can see them. And look at me, I'm handsome, I'm a good boyfriend. There's even dance routines. All right. Okay, so we've advertised that we're single. We are dating. We've courted. First comes love, then comes, well, in the animal kingdom, there's a few options. It could just be a one and done thing, and that's it. You know, a lot of animals, the male and female get together, and then the male's gone. Like those hummingbirds, after courtship is done, the mama bird raises all the babies on her own. Specifically, a female hummingbird, we learned a couple years ago, can basically keep 3 nests in various stages, up to 3 nests, not always, usually it might be 2, up to 3 nests with 2 eggs at a time, and babies at different intervals of growth, you know, like egg and then baby and then fledgling, all at the same time. So they are hard-working mamas, single mamas. So there's that option. You might go steady for a while. You know, maybe they mate just once a year and they don't mate for life. There is the lifetime commitment, or our equivalent of marriage, of course, or murder's an option. So we'll talk a little bit about that. One of our fan favorite animals at the nature station and Land Between the Lakes are the bald eagles. We get a lot of questions about them. And so here is a lovely video of eagles mate for life. They build the nest together, they care for the young together, and they even squabble like married couples. So if we watch this, we don't need the sound on that. That's annoying. Mama bird and daddy bird here working on the nest are going to disagree here on where this stick should be placed. Watch very closely. No, not doing it right. And so this bird gets mad, yanks it away. Oh, there's a little bit of fighting, a little squabbling, happens in every healthy relationship. And then he, I believe, actually, that's the smaller of the two, probably the male, carries off the stick to another location entirely. So I thought that was pretty cute to show off a little bit about, you know, just animals aren't that different from us, you know, disagreements on how to decorate the house, that kind of thing. And then the other, you know, one of the other options, like we talked about, could be not so happily ever after. So of course, as you can kind of tell here, we're going to be talking about black widows and praying mantises. I don't have any video of praying mantises, but this one's of the black widow. Big thing about them is that the females, so here's a male, very small, much smaller than the female. Black widows are well known for this. It's where their name comes from. They're called black widows because they don't keep their mates. And this male spider does not get to live happily ever after. He's coming in and saying, hey, hello, and then she eats him. And that happens with praying mantises too. And there's scientists do have some different theories on this. Generally, the running theory is that this is a good source of protein. They've just mated, and they need to lay. The female needs to lay eggs, and so she needs a really good source of nutrients in order to kickstart that process, kind of like vitamins. And so, in some species of animal, the female kills the male in order to have him for food, and this will boost her strength in order to lay those eggs. Not appropriate in the human world, but in the animal world, that happens quite frequently. So that is our slideshow here. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Ending on that kind of note, but I do actually have an extra surprise for you. I do have a couple photos that haven't been released on Facebook yet. I believe they're being posted today. I wanted to show you some happy courtship. If you are familiar with our Honker Lakes swans, they have been seen to be courting and probably looking for nesting territory on Honker Lake, which is really exciting because swans don't typically nest in land between the lakes. So to have these are mute swans specifically. They showed up in January, I believe, and usually they stop over for a couple days when it's like really cold and they're gone. But these are clearly sticking around. They have been observed to be house hunting, for example. We have a lot of beaver lodges on Honker Lake, and swans are known to make nests on beaver lodges. So we have some information that the photographer who got these photos says they were having a standoff with a beaver family who did not want them nesting on their lodge. So it'll be really interesting to see how they develop. But look at how cute that is. So the typical heart shapes, the swan with the heart shape is actually true. They have a lot of dancing. They'll touch beaks. They nuzzle like that. They'll nibble each other's backs and groom each other. Just very cute. Melody has been sending us a lot of cool photos. So you'll see a little bit of that along with the beaver photos on Facebook if you follow us. But that is our program. Does anybody have any questions for me about what we talked about today, or maybe something we didn't talk about? I do my best. Good news is I have a Google machine in front of me, so worst case, we look it up together. Give it a minute just in case anybody has anything to type in. All right. Well, in that case, I want to thank you all for joining us today. This has been super fun, and I hope you all learned something, or I hope I sparked an interest so that you guys can research more on your own. The animal kingdom is full of just weird and wacky and cool, amazing stories like this. So I hope I opened your eyes to a little bit of that. Feel free, if you think of any extra questions, you can message us on Facebook. I'm our social media coordinator. I will find them myself. You can comment on it, or this webinar will actually be uploaded to YouTube in the next day or so, and you can also comment there. You can share it if you're wanting to show it off to people. And on behalf of the Woodlands Nature Station, thanks so much for joining me today.